Hey everyone, how you doing? How are you doing today? I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you be part of my discussion today on Lead TV, where we're going to have a discussion today with myself, Lieutenant Colonel Bernard House, and Lieutenant Colonel Natasha Clarke. Today is part two of our discussion that we had initially starting from last week. So I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion, and here we go. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to both Lieutenant Colonel Natasha Clarke and Lieutenant Colonel Bernard House. How y'all doing?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. We're back at it again, just for part two of the lively discussion that we had last week. Last week was something quite phenomenal, in my opinion. And, I want to celebrate you all both by bringing you back again today to continue the discussion, because I'm sure there's a few things that people didn't really get a chance to fully get out there. And so, we've got more topics today that we're going to put out. I see, we're representing definitely blue and white today. So shout out and celebration to that. So here we go. I'd like to, for those who don't know you, I'd like to have first and foremost you all to introduce yourselves, and either one of you all could start.
All right. Tasha woke up early, so I'll let her go.
So good morning, everyone, and good evening for those in the States. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Natasha Clarke. I am currently stationed in South Korea. Just finished battalion command last week. I am a logistics officer, basic branch was transportation. I came in the military through ROTC, through North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. I am now slated to go to USFK to serve as the speechwriter for General Abrams. I'll start that on Tuesday.
Okay, congratulations, ma'am. Congratulations.
Yep. So Lieutenant Colonel Bernard House, so currently at Fort Knox, and I actually just, I'm on leave now, but I just switched over to 5th Corps, where I'll be working in the fire cell coming from HRC. Previous battalion command at Fort Drum. I'm a field artillery officer, proud graduate of an HBCU, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, Golden Line. So again, hey Otis, thanks for having us on. And Natasha, thanks for sharing the stage with me, and look forward to the discussion today.
Okay, awesome. And I know we have a few topics that we personally talked about that we would love to focus on and discuss. So, I'm going to go ahead and just pick the topic and let's just go at it. Bottom line up front, let's just run into it. And the first topic is a topic that I saw Colonel House, you brought up in one of the forums that we're in, and it's in regards to Greek life. Ironically, you both are representing very strongly right now your Greek organization representation. So let's go ahead and talk about it. The first thing, Greek culture, Greek or not. What are each of our opinions in regards to that? And how does it affect your career, whether it be civilian or military?
Yeah, so if I can, I'll start off with this. And, I wore paraphernalia and asked Natasha to wear it for a reason, to make a point, because, naturally we're proud of our fraternities, sororities, as you should be. But with having said that, I think the question that you're talking about is, I posted about, how does it bear on your military career, whether you should include it in your intro letter. And then as we're dealing with seniors and subordinates that are, fraternity sorority members, how do we act around them and how do we greet them? So I guess my opinion on this, and I am a very proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. However, I never included on any of my military bios. I never included in, intro letters or anything for that nature. And likewise, if I'm dealing with a senior or a subordinate, especially in a professional setting, when I'm in uniform, I'm not greeting them as, frat or soror, as, sir, ma'am, vice versa. It's the professional courtesy that the military, that we operate under in the military. Not to say I'm not proud to be, but I think, and I guess this is for a lot of us that are Greek, understand the importance of our Greek organizations. It's kind of up to us also to explain that importance to the non-Greeks, because you'll hear sometimes people say, "Hey, that's college. You kind of outgrew it in college." But that's just not, actually, it's not true. These organizations stand far beyond your undergraduate, graduates, wherever you pledge that, and actually do a lot for the community and for the society. So I'll stop there and, get Natasha's opinion on it and kind of chime in, SB.
Okay, I'll give her the screen.
Okay, so for me, I'm the opposite. I've never included that I was a member of the sorority in a welcome letter, but it's in my bio because that is something that I'm very proud to be a part of. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We are celebrating our 100th year in existence this year. For me, I have served in offices in this position and in Zeta. And so when you walk into my office, just like you will see that I graduated from an HBCU, that I'm a Roll Tide fan, I'm a Steelers fan, you will also see that I'm a member of a Greek letter organization. I have had subordinates come up to me and say, "Hey, ma'am, I didn't know you were in a sorority." They'll ask me questions about it. For me, in my career, I've only encountered one individual that has, I would say, stepped out of the line of professionalism in terms of addressing me in the sense of a sorority member. And that person wasn't even a part of my sorority in one of the fraternities. But I immediately corrected it. For me, so it's not to say I don't want you to hide it or not talk about it. I want you to talk about it. It's a part of you. This is a part of me. Zeta is a part of me. Just like being a wife, a mother, one that serves in the church. I also serve in the community when I'm serving and representing the letters. Our founding principles, the four principles that we have, which is scholarship, service, sisterhood, and final womanhood. And so for me, I will proudly let anyone know, hey, I am a Zeta, yes, but that does not negate the fact that I am still either, a member of the team, I'm your leader at that time, wherever that may be. So that's all I have.
Yeah. Hey, Otis, I think it's good to point out, and you notice we got opposite approach to this, so there's no right or wrong answer, but you got to listen to how Lieutenant Colonel Clarke Natasha said it, how she included everything, the professional side, because again, like we both said, sororities and fraternities do a lot of great things for the community, in Korea, when I was in Korea, Jay and Natasha, the organization there did a lot of great things, whether it's community service, wherever it may be. So yes, be very, very proud, which we all are, of your organization, but also you got to be very, very professional, which means when you walk in there and you see those Zeta Phi Beta letters in your office, that doesn't mean because you're part of the same fraternity or sorority, you're going to get a free ride. That means we expect you. That means we expect you because we know, the professionalism and what our organizations bring to the table and what we expect of each member of, Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta. We expect you to uphold those principles.
I fully agree. I fully agree with that. Here's the ironic thing. I remember when I just had a chance, I believe 2 weeks ago, to speak to my command's GO. So he's a major general for USAREC, and he is part of a Greek letter organization. He actually brought it up during his change of command ceremony. And, it's kind of like how, say, for instance, you go into a new team, you're a young enlisted soldier, or a young officer or whatever, and you see your company commander or your battalion commander is a Black officer too. And it's like, ooh, that you should not go in with the expectation that, they're going to give you an extra hand or anything like that. And that's not fair to yourself or to them. You should go in with the expectation that, ooh, you know what? I need to step my game up to make sure that I show the professionalism, as you all said, but no, also to show that I am worthy of the opportunity to be mentored potentially in the long run. So, it's something I definitely agree with what you both said regarding that. We have comments, ironically, on the topic that we're talking about
Yeah.
right now.
I really
Someone
like
said, "Go ahead, sir."
I like the way Natasha phrased it. She was much more articulate than I was, but she's definitely right. You can't hide it. It's part of who we are. And, I know when I pledged, I made a deliberate decision as to which fraternity I was going to. I'm very, very proud of it. I won't say when I pledged because then you'll reveal how old I am. But very proud of it. You said it 100% right. You can't hide it. You got to be proud of it. And then as an officer, especially when you get senior rank, you have to use, your opinion as to what you want to do, how you want to display stuff, how you want to present stuff, and kind of how you go from there. But I would definitely, I have situations where you see juniors, the first thing they lead off with, "What's up, frat?"
Nah, I can't do that. No.
So I'm sorry, you had comments. Go from there.
Actually, I've got no comments, so not personal comments, but I do have comments I see coming from the viewers of the discussion. We've got one, ironically, from Greek members also, but not pertaining to the Greek comment. We've got one from our soror, Natasha Ford. Natasha Ford. She said, "Hey, following." We've got one from Lieutenant Colonel Calhoun. Is also a member of a sorority in the MPHC. She said, "Good to see you too." Knowledge. We have also other organizations that are not necessarily MPHC, sort of like OES.
Yes,
OES is definitely some.
Yes.
Go ahead,
I'm
ma'am.
a member of OES as well. And so for anyone that knows me, I'm probably connected to a whole lot of organizations, nonprofit organizations. And so the topic says Greek culture or not. And so to focus on that or not part, does that mean that I separate officers, especially minority officers that are not a member of an organization? No. It's just something that I happen to be a part of. And I would hope that, the ideas and principles that we stand upon when we're joining the sororities and fraternities exude ideas of professionalism when people see us. So regardless of what you did, if you join an organization or not, for me, I want people to still see that, I'm a leader first, I'm a professional first. But then when you get to know me, we pull back the curtain just a little, you get to see that, oh, she's also a member of X, Y, and Z as well.
Yes. And in the same way, so I'm a member of James Alexander, number 1, Masonic Lodge out of West Oakland, Arkansas. And I think that question that I posted on the African American Army Officer Forum opened up my eyes to see that a lot of non-Greeks don't truly, understand, our organization, our culture, and how the importance. So I think that's why it's a good topic to discuss. It's not that, just because you wear the same letters or, you can wear different fraternity or sorority letters, you're not going to get any kind of favoritism. But it's good sometimes to kind of sit down and listen and understand what your officers are into.
Excellent.
I would say, if you ever get the opportunity, and it's just, throwing in a plug, to have a discussion on people that are member of the Greek letter organization and then people that are not, to get that dialogue going, to see what that's like, because I have friends that are not members of the Greek letter organizations, and we have these candid discussions about what that's like, especially when you're a person of color. You walk into a group setting and the first thing they say is, what college you go to? Oh, you didn't go to a HBCU, so you didn't pledge, or whatever the take may be. And so if you could probably one day have a forum like that so that people can share their experiences, because we need to educate.
Yeah.
We just got to educate our people. Like I said, Zeta is celebrating their 100th year today. This year, 100th year in existence. And it does not mean that, all we do is stroll or party. We do fundraisers, we give scholarships, we do so much for the community. We're connected to the March of Dimes, St. Jude's organization, Fisher Life, the Wow House. And so we're connected to so many things that people just need to understand it and know it. And I'm just talking about Zeta, but I know all my Greek sisters and brothers, they're all connected to great organizations.
Yeah.
Speaking of Greeks, we've got a significant Greek push recently, especially in politics. And more than anything, and I don't want to necessarily say, hey, if you're Greek, you're going to fall into this line of politics or not. But I want to just show the significance of being part of a large organization and how it can be used to mobilize whatever spectrum of politics that you're in. We just want to point out this is just another significant thing. All the way from, we have Martin Luther King, we have, of course, we have Kamala Harris. She's part of the organizations. We've got so many historical people that are part of this organization. So there's a lot of history behind it, but I know Colonel House, you wanted to make a point as well.
No, I think Natasha said it best, because what we don't want to do is think it's all about the strolling, it's all about the step shows,
Correct.
It's all about, the college parties and all that good stuff. There's a lot more, to these organizations. And that's what I think is very, very important. And you're right. I mean, maybe it's good to do a plug and talk about it, because there's a lot more to these organizations than what you kind of see on the surface. And I think once we educate the non-Greek, or, even going for, a Masonic or OES, once you kind of get the education piece on it, you'll kind of understand more of why this is important to servicemen. And we're talking officers, but this is non-commissioned officers also that are wearing these letters and emblems and everything.
Oh, the plug with that too. And so now we're talking that other piece of that fraternization piece. So officers, service members. So we have to, that's why it's important that we educate so people will understand it. For me, I didn't know if my counterparts who didn't look like me understood if I was talking to Sergeant so-and-so, that was probably the president of our chapter. The one thing that I can say that I've always seen is that the professionalism has always reigned supreme, if you have it, in terms of when I attend meetings or sessions, women that are GOs or SESs serving in the organization, I will not go up to them and say, hey, Sarah, it's still ma'am to me. And I've seen that same line of professionalism trickle down even at the lowest level. And so that's why I say, it is probably good to have a forum like this to talk about it. So what is it like if you're not? What and why are you all socializing together? And are we, erring on the side of caution, or are we, in a gray line in terms of coming together? So people just need to understand. That's all.
Yeah,
tracking.
Now,
so
that question on the forum kind of took a different twist too, because it went from talking about Greek culture, and then we went into talking about West Point graduates. And again, this is why I think the education piece is important, because again, it's two separate topics. It's almost like apples and oranges, comparing what the West Point alums do versus what Greeks do. So again, I guess my final plug on this is, if you're a non-Greek, take the time to sit down and talk to somebody that's a part of these organizations, so you can understand how things function and the importance of them.
Tracking. So let's go ahead and jump to the next topic. I think we've Greeked out a little bit, right? So let's
never Greek out. Never.
That's good. Good catch there. I appreciate that, ma'am. Let's go ahead and jump into the next one. And so this topic here, and we're going to have it kind of tickering on the bottom. So the topic is, and the question is there a stigma tied to PWI versus service academies in terms of minorities entering the military? And so this obviously connects with what was just mentioned there regarding West Point and the other service academies versus, say, HBCU or PWI, et cetera. What is the stigma regarding that, and how do we break past that stigma? Who'd like to jump on that first?
Okay,
So,
so
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Mark.
No, go ahead.
Well, oh no, I know we got to work on our transitions.
Yeah.
I would say that I was having this discussion last night with Jay, and we were talking about that. And I did not realize it until he said it. I think I realized it, but I kind of brushed it off for years. That when we see someone that's coming from a service academy, we automatically see the top tier. You know, they're automatically put on a different scale versus someone that's coming from a PWI, which some people don't even know what that is. That's a new term that came about just a few years ago. That's a primarily white institute. Vice is an HBCU, historically Black college university. If I have someone, and I'm just using West Point, that comes in from West Point, and then you have someone that comes in from North Carolina A&T, you're going to automatically think that, hey, this person knows tactics probably a little bit more. And I say this because this is all that most service academies focus on all day is their military obligation. Vices at the other universities, you have that once or twice a week where you're indoctrinated into the military environment because you're still out doing other things. And it's not until you go to camp that junior year, between that junior and senior year, where you'll get a chance to kind of connect with everyone else, and then you go back to your bubble. But those that are at service academies, they're still doing this day after day after day. And so I think that the military in my opinion, I think that the military has institutionalized us to say that, you know, maybe they are far more progressed than others in terms of, you know, the training. I mean, and it's a natural. For 4 years, this is all they do. Versus my 4 years, I did ROTC, I did track, I did, you know, you name it. And so it's just different. It doesn't mean that they're better. It just means that it's different. The culture for them is different. And so we see them differently. And I'll let Bernard chime in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I just had this conversation because, you know, honestly, especially if we go back when a lieutenant was coming into my formation, I was mildly interested. I knew, you know, you could look at the ORBs and tell where they was coming from, West Point or whatever college they graduated from. But I was more interested in, you know, how they showed up to the organization, and then the subtle questions that a battalion commander asks. You know, a fires battalion commander, I'm asking about, you know, their knowledge on process of fire missions, you know, seeing what they learned out of BOLOC. That's kind of what I was interested in. But I had this discussion with another senior probably a couple of weeks ago about, you know, the expectations when West Point cadets come in versus HBCUs, and I kind of did some thought on it. And, you know, the question is, how do we change it? So again, you got to change the mindsets of seniors. And how do you do that? You put quality PMSs, you know, like Lieutenant Colonel Natasha Clarke at our HBCUs to educate our cadets and officers, you know, as they're getting ready to get commissioned and come into the to the Army. That way, if you're filling these institutions with quality officers that are leading and training, eventually you're going to change the you know, the mindset or the stigma attached to graduates coming out of HBCU, because you know there's a quality cadre there training those officers. And likewise, you know, this is, you know, that takes time. But right now, you know, the seniors that are going into command, they got to take the mindset and put this aside to say, regardless of wherever they're coming from their commissioning sources, I got to give everybody a fair chance. So even if I'm looking at a slate and it has all these Westpointers, and I know they're supposed to be the superstars and HBCUs and everybody, I got to give everybody a fair opportunity and slot them where they have the opportunity to perform, and either they're gonna succeed or, you know, they're gonna fail, and then you adjust accordingly. I've seen West Pointers fail. I've seen, you know, lieutenants from these PWIs, as we call them, fail, and HBCUs fail. And likewise, I've seen them succeed. But everybody needs a fair opportunity to prove themselves as they come in as a second lieutenant.
I see the CW5 Dixon Carter asked a question in terms of
Let's bring it up. Let's put it up real
oh,
fast.
thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, she's asked
The question she asked is, do you think it is because the alumni from those institutions and academies are investing more time and money back into the schools?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the money portion, but I definitely know
the
it's the
invest in
time.
the time. Yes.
West Point got a great mentor network. I mean, it is what it is. And I think what Natasha pointed out last time, some of our HBCUs are doing really well with that also. Some of them are not. Unfortunately, the ones that are not, are kind of, you grouped in I guess it's birds of a feathers flock together. So we got to do better as alumni from HBCUs are reaching back and mentoring cadets.
And we're saying, and we say, hey, we got to do better, but I will employ everyone that's on the line or sees this later on to start actioning that. Don't just say it. Let's not speak about it, but actually do it. And in terms right now, we're in this COVID environment where I can't go back, but we can utilize these virtual means to talk to the cadets, to talk to those who have just graduated from North Carolina A&T. If I find out anyone within my formation had graduated from, especially one of the schools in the MEAC, I was constantly putting plugs in just to talk to them. Just because it's just different. We don't have a vast range like West Point, VMI, unlike, we're just not there yet. And we really just need to give back. We need to give back to our organizations.
And I will say this also. I mean, it's not just an HBCU graduate's problem. If you know that you got an infantry officer, for say, if I got an infantry officer graduating from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff that need mentoring, I have no problem because I know a West Point infantry officer linking them up for that mentorship. So same way, like you said, it's COVID environment, everything Zoom or Teams or whatever it is. It's no problem for a non-HBCU graduates to reach back and do some mentorship. Everybody should be invested in making the institution better. So regardless of where you graduated from, it's okay to give back.
I fully agree with that. I would say, heck, if us regular folks could be in communications with chief of staffs and sergeant majors and all of that stuff, and we're HBCU graduates, we're just lieutenant colonels, and we're just GS9s and 11s. It doesn't matter. There's no barrier now. There's no bridge that we need to cross. We have technology. We have a means that anybody could talk to anybody at any time. So now we've just got to put forth the effort and actually make it happen. So shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Clarke, just giving that point of view that I fully agree with. I've got another comment I see on here, and the comment comes from Zor Frazier. It says, that is so true. I have a USMA grad in my bullet class, and a lot of us rely heavily on her for understanding the tactics for CTE. That's a perception we have.
Yes, it is.
Got it. So let's.
Yes, I was the same way going into Vance camp. The guy from the Citadel, we thought he was the best thing ever when it came to 6 lanes training, but I thought I was
I got you. I hear you loud and clear.
He was really good. He was really good. We got you, man. We got you. Let's jump into the next one. And so the next topic here, it says, did you check ORBs prior to officers arriving to your battalion and see their commissioning sources, HBCU, ROTC, Service Academy? Did you all ever do something like that?
Yeah. I mean, you check the orbs as they come in. So I'll talk about this one for a minute, then I'll pass it off to Natasha. I mean, when you're talking about lieutenants and captains coming in, you're going to look at the ORB simply because you're doing your slating, and you want to know where to put all this at. And part of the discussion that we had on the forum was about the intro letters or intro emails, I guess they are nowadays, and those were really helpful to me as a commander. I know some commanders don't like them. I personally did. Because the information in there kind of helped me get my first initial view of the officer. And as I'm going through the slate, I kind of know where to put them. But again, absolutely, you look at the commissioner sources, there's other certain areas of that ORB that you looked at. But again, as I kind of did some soul searching as this topic, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I just don't think I weighted anybody heavier, whether they were a service academy graduate or an HBC graduate, than I did any other officer coming in.
I would think for me, I looked at it. It was really hard to tell now because most of the officers that are coming in, which is really good, and shout out to Cadet Command for really enforcing this, they are prepared. They are prepared now, I think, are more equipped and better prepared than I was coming in. The one thing that I did when I brought the officers in after I had reviewed their orbs is, hey, I started to look to see how do they speak. If they're looking me in the eye, if they come into my office with pen and paper, which is my number one pet peeve. If you're coming in to have a discussion, counseling, and you don't have pen and paper, walk out, get yourself together, and come back in. So these things I had to do it with someone from an HBCU, PWI Service Academy, because it was, for them, it's, oh, I'm putting it on my phone. No, just, we need to have eye contact when we're talking. How I
Can I ask something on that, ma'am?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let me ask something on that. I know you said that pen and paper is almost like a almost mandatory thing that the person should bring prior to the discussion. Can we adjust to like modern day solutions to old school's problems? So can I bring like my phone and just record the entire conversation, or no? Why not?
Not for me, only because, and this is me, this generation, they will start taking notes on the phone. And I have a habit too. And then you start doing other things. So I need to know that you're focused. And so I was doing an out brief with some officers the other day. And I said, even if you don't like what the person is saying, you can be writing on your paper, I wish they would stop talking. But at least in my mind, I feel like, hey, this person, you're paying attention to what I'm saying in the information and the conversation we're having. I was speaking with a senior leader last night, and I was telling her, yes, I'm writing everything down now as you're talking. Because if I pick up the phone, a text came through, I'm going to check the text real quick. An email just pinged through, I'm going to just check that real quick. So I need you folks. That's for me, though. That's me.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. And you brought up a very good topic that I'm kind of going to branch off a little bit. When officers, especially when lieutenants coming out of BOLOC, when you first arrive at your duty station, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to meet the battalion commander, battalion sergeant major, that leadership. Make sure, like you said, pen and paper, that green notebook, carry it everywhere, have it there. Make sure you arrive physically fit. Okay. I got it. We have some views on that, maybe, scoring a 300 on your PT test or a 600, I guess now on the ACFT doesn't really equate to leadership. But guess what? You're gonna be viewed. You're gonna be judged on your physical fitness. So make sure you show up physically fit, ready to go, in case the commander say, "Hey, let's go run in the next day prior to you getting there." Your uniform. Make sure your uniform is pressed. Pristine. If it's faded, get a new one. But make sure you look professional and presentable when you get there. And then your knowledge. Just like you said, a lot of us are going to ask questions, not just about your ORB, but we're trying to do a check on learning for what you know out of BOLOC, that baseline knowledge to say your job. So show up ready, okay? This is truly your first impression. So if you blow it, it's probably going to haunt you for a period of time while you're there. So show up ready to go. And then I share the same thing with Natasha. I don't like this. I got it. We got, phones and tablets and all this stuff, pen and paper. Even when you sitting in a training meeting, command and staff, put the phones away, break out a pen and paper. If you want to, type in whatever you wrote down after the meeting, that's fine. Don't do it in the meeting.
Tracking. So can I ask a question? What are some of and this could be part of, I guess, we're kind of going down a road a little bit, and I think this is something that the people probably want to know about. What are some of what would you say are maybe top 3 unspoken rules that a soldier should know when they're first entering into a brand new battalion? I see a smile on Colonel House's face, like he wants to jump on it right now. So, but what are some of those unspoken rules?
Well, okay. And again, everything here is my opinion. And I used to be, this unspoken, unwritten rule guy, a fan of it. And then I got to thinking, if these doggone things were that important, put them in the regulation. You know, it gets kind of carried away because next thing you know, you got 100 unwritten rules, and we're expecting officers to do everything under the sun. And when they don't do it, it's like, oh, you get penalized, but it's not. They're not doing anything against the regulation. So, my opinion of unwritten rules is, yeah, some of them are necessary. A lot of them are very biased in people's opinion that they formed over the years and really has no bearing on anything at all. But to answer your question, social events is one I think that should be added to a regulation. It is not an option. Okay, I don't care what people tell you. It's not an option. If they're scheduled a held farewell, gathered at a commander's house, whatever it is, you should get up and go. Okay. Likewise, we should have a dress code for these things. Okay. You know, naturally, you know, I'm dressed in my polo with my fraternity stuff on now, doing this right here. But if I'm going to the commander's house, you know, it's going to be slacks. It's going to be a button down jacket. We need to teach some people how to wear and what to wear. So I think that's something that should absolutely be added into the regulation also. Otherwise, you know, I'm gonna go on a limb here because some of these other unwritten rules, you know, I read stuff about, you know, not having a mustache, et cetera. And I get to the point where Jesus, you know, the regulation says you have a mustache, you got to be trimmed this and this. Okay, who cares? They operate within the regulation that shows that they know how to read the regulation. I'm okay if they want to have a mustache. That's their facial hair preference. So I guess to sum it up, I give you two that I'm a fan of, and I just gave them to you. Everything else, I think, you know, as leaders, we got to be really careful saying, here's the 1,000 list unwritten rule. Don't do anything on here because I think it's kind of ridiculous. Okay, I'll yield to Natasha.
Okay, go ahead.
I cannot disagree with any of those. I do know when I do see people with the mustache, though, I'm kind of like, again, but it's how I was brought into the military, so it's different. It's still a part of regulation. They're still within AR 670-1, so I can't say nothing against it. It's just one of those like, and so for any leader, you know, when you see those things based off of whenever you came in, you might do that initial like, I can't, you know, but hey, it is what it is. I would say another thing, and only probably because we're in Korea, when we're having these functions, these dinners or balls, galas, whatever, if you're a junior leader, you know, hey, you're ASU. I don't want to hear, I don't have it, it's not put together. Nope, not going to work for me. Or field grades and above, if you don't own a mesh dress, I'm sorry. You don't need to put that in a regulation. You just need to go get one. You need to invest in your organization, and it looks professional. There's nothing more when I see the field grade, you know, we're at a ball or a gala and they walking in with the ASU, and I'm just sitting there looking like, okay, again, you're right, but invest.
Maybe they don't want to come in and wear all that drip. Maybe they don't want to spend all that money. Come on now.
No, I agree with you on that.
Get a friend in Korea and get one made.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one because I know a certain battalion commander who had to rush order one from Marlon White, you know, at over $800 because he refused to go to his ball in one, and that was me. So yeah, White wasn't very happy about it. But you go through rumors, you know, back-to-back deployments, balls were important until you get right before St. Barbara's Day, you realize you got ASUs and no mesh dress. But before I walked into St. Barbara's Day, I had a mesh dress uniform. So I agree with that.
Good deal. All right. Well, hey, I like this topic. That topic was wonderful. Let's transition to the next topic. Do y'all want to expand any more on this topic? I don't think we do, right? Okay.
Ask comments.
Yeah, I see some comments here kind of connected with what we were talking about. We had one again from Zor. Is it Zor? Am I saying your name right? Zor Frazier?
Symbolic, right.
Okay, the last name is right. That's all that counts. Electronics are systems. They crash. Information doesn't save. Pen and paper for me is like carrying my cat car. It's on my person at all times because you can always refer back to that. But these phones, they crack, they update automatically. So, and it's a lot. So I agree 100%. Okay, I hear you. Old school is the way. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate because, some
You
of
know
us
what?
kids say, for instance, I hear a vocal transmission or whatever it is that's going on. It jumps automatically to my cloud, which goes to my computer, and it's typed out automatically if you have that software or whatever. But I'm just being devil's advocate. But I hear what you're going to say, sir.
Put it in your phone. Screenshot, put it in your phone.
Yep, there you go. And let me say something, because she got a good point there. And this is one of my pet peeves with the counseling. We talked about this last time. What she just said in her comment, right? Something in writing so you can refer back to is why it's so important to sit down and put counselings on paper.
Yes.
I'll put something that went all the way through wherever I get the opportunity to. Okay.
Okay. So we got another question that's right here. The question is from Miss Yolandria Dixon Carter. She said, since this is a topic of discussion, do you address the uniform in your counseling sessions or in brief with junior officers to include WLs?
Warrant officers. Yes, Chief Dixon Carter, CW5 Dixon Carter. I do. But I will always say, especially with the junior leaders and junior warrants, I will say, hey, you don't have to go out and get this right now. It was easy to say that in Korea. It's easy to say that here because we can get things made at a much cheaper price compared to Marla
Really?
White.
I may have to hit you up for an order there.
The only one that does not know that.
I didn't know that. I've never been to Korea, so I don't know. My bad.
Oh yeah, I'll send you my tailor's info. Shout out to him and Pacific Tailor. But I will tell you that I do. I talk to them. I say, hey, it's not mandatory right now, but as you progress, if you so choose to make this a career, just like you invest in your time, you're gonna have to invest a few of your dollars. We don't get a stipend like the NCOs do for uniforms, and so you got to invest. And so, as Lieutenant Colonel House brought up, you come in with your cook white uniform. Hey, invest and go get a new one. They're just basic. It's basic officership.
Yeah, okay. I think that's good. I think that's one thing I didn't do as a quarterly counselor or something like that is to talk about uniforms. Looking back, it's probably the right thing to do. But as you had the opportunity to mentor, definitely it's one of those things that, we talk about is to make sure you got the proper uniform. And as you invest in rank, as you grow in rank, making sure you're investing in the uniforms to coincide with your rank.
Got it. Excellent. Let's jump into the next topic. And that next topic is, what have we done in terms of giving back, mentoring, coaching, and teaching? Can I go first? Because I know I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do. As far as mentoring, teaching, and coaching, I remember when I was given a chance to be taught, coached, and mentored by those who saw the talent in me, and they believed in me, and they believed that I wanted to do this so much so. It started initially from Lieutenant Colonel Jay Clarke, giving me that opportunity to do public affairs. And then I got really confident in my abilities to do public affairs. And then I have other people who are reaching out to me and ask me, hey, how you do this? How you do that? And I love teaching. And I remember being given that opportunity. So, of course, it's like paying forward. This is something that I relish. My mentality was, why me? And so the why me was inspired from the mentorship I got from Jay Clarke. And so when people ask me for help and I say, why me? Well, I was given that opportunity to have a second life. So I'm going to give out that love that people have given to me. But that's my mentality as a civilian and what I'm doing now. But what about you all two?
So for me, I think I mentor, coach, teach, give back abundantly. Just last night, I was able to connect a Air Force ROTC cadet to a Air Force Lieutenant Colonel that I've known for a few years now. Because, hey, I can mentor you, but, I want you to have the right information coming from that subject matter expert. Anyone knows that if they reach out to me, I will do my best to make time to offer advice, point you in the right direction as much as possible. But I think with mentorship, it comes with a giving heart. because people have to understand mentorship for me is about relationships. And so it goes both ways. And I mentioned it on last week, how I will reach out to some of my mentees and get their opinions, their advice, their guidance. What do you think about this? Because I may not be seeing it from my lens. In terms of coaching, I think as leaders, especially if you're sitting in a company command, battalion command, one of the CSL billets, that is your time to be able to coach others. And so I made that a point for all of my captains and CW3s and above. Hey, within the first 3 months, I'm going to employ you to have to grab 3 people that you can mentor. You begin to coach them and you begin to mentor them, because as you progress through the ranks, if you so choose to stay in the military, you will see how your list of people will grow. Like I know Bernard House, he has his set mentees. However, he reaches out to, so many people reach out to him and he gives that solid feedback. But there, you want to be able to say, it's like being a parent and being able to say, look at what I was able to do. Look at my lieutenant now. They're now company commanders. As a company commander, one of my former lieutenants was sitting in a battalion XO position now. And, me being able to say, hey, I'm so proud of you. Oh, by the way, I got a captain coming your way and she needs command, little plugs like that. But the relationships, but it's just a great feeling. So I love giving back.
Yeah. And I would say that, all 3 of us have been blessed, where we at and the platform that God has given us to speak. Yes. So just like Natasha just said, I'll reach out to anybody for the coaching and teaching part. I do have selected, mentees, what we talked about for the mentor relationship. But that's one of the great things about social media, because you meet so many people on social media. And back in the day when I can go TDY, it's just, plug it in and say, hey, I'm coming to Fort X. I'm going to eat dinner here. Anybody who want to come out and talk, come out and meet it. So I think, for our senior leaders, that's seriously is, it's very important. Just set aside an hour or something like that when you're traveling around to kind of talk to people and, answer questions and get that feedback. Likewise with social media, because I stroll late at night when I can't sleep. But if you pay attention to some of the stuff that people post sometimes, you can see when people are struggling. They might not, reach out to you and say, I'm having problems, but a problem will come out and they're posting. And, I'm notorious for going in, in IM and saying, hey, Lieutenant Captain, are you okay? How are things going? And then that'll open up a whole line of discussion. And I think the last plug I'll throw out there, and I know Natasha is the same way as me on this one. If we tell you to, contact us, for whether it's call, email, or something like that, please do it. I mean, we mean it. Okay. It's not just a punchline. We're not gonna put it on our OER support forums. We want you to contact us so we can have a dialogue and we can help you through whatever situation you are, just to see how you're doing and kind of give you some guidance along the way.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent point.
And on that, 2 things Bernard just brought up. So social media. And so what I've found is that I have a lot of junior leaders that will Facebook me, the friend request, send me LinkedIn request. Introduce yourself. Tell me who you are. Don't just send me a Facebook request, because I probably got over 1,000 Facebook requests that I have not accepted, because I don't know who you are. And it's not, hey, she's above all of that. I'm not. I just want to know who you are. Introduce yourself. It's like, hey, you want to start a relationship? You want to get to know this person? Hey, ma'am, I am such and such. I saw you talking, or someone told me to get in contact with you. But don't just automatically send me a friend request. That's for me, though. Some people are good with that. I'm just not, because I'm still trying to keep up with whoever else is on, my social media. And then that second thing, Bernard did really well. I saw when he had the opportunity to travel with HRC, he would always put a plug out there. Hey, I'm going to be in the area if you want to get together with some of the officers and junior leaders. And so I thought that was great. I do the same thing. I'm kind of like, I won't put it out on social media. I'll just let like 1 or 2 people know. And I say, okay, you let the people know, because if not, I just don't want it to be. I'm not good with big crowds, and I want to be able to give people that opportunity. I want to give them my undivided attention at that time frame.
Yeah. Hey, and one more thing. I'm sorry, but you keep in mind this: social media connections doesn't automatically equal to that I'm your mentor. Okay, you gotta be real mentor. And again, I know I'm giving Colonel Wagner. We talk a lot. I gave him a lot of credit last time, but this is another that he wrote about. Mentoring, coaching, and teaching. There's distinctions on all those. We all will talk to you via social media. We all will talk to you on the phone, but to truly be a mentor and you be my mentee, that is a relationship. And the people who I always say, the people who know that I'm their mentor, they know because they got my phone number. And I'm going to answer my phone regardless of what time they call. I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning. If I see the name pop up in the phone, I'm going to answer the phone. So you just got to be real careful because I've been name dropped before, and who? The worst thing you can do is drop somebody's name, and then if Natasha Clarke reach out to me and say, "Hey, Lieutenant Lexa, they're your mentor," and I'm like, "Who?" It doesn't go over well. So
Right.
just I'm okay with talking to anybody, but just be real careful who you designate as your mentor.
Yes.
Gotcha. So we got some comments on here. Let's go ahead and bring it up. The comments. One again from CW5. She said, "Woot woot! Thanks you, ma'am, for remembering the quiet professionals, the warrant officers. Your leadership and mentorship is evident in the growth of many of our warrant officers." And we've got one from Meisha Sunday. Is that your sister?
Sunday. Lieutenant Sunday. I'm sorry. Lieutenant Sunday. Bolick.
Yeah.
Okay. She said a great leader, mentor. Shout out to that. We've got one from, Marcella Sunday saying giving back is part of the life.
Yeah.
The higher you go, the more you give. That is excellent points. Let's go ahead and jump into the next topic. The next one speaks about mentorship. How often are we actually doing this? What are you doing to change the mindset that mentorship is important?
So I would say that I do it. That's part of my daily battle rhythm. I think I did it more being having the opportunity to work at the Pentagon. That hour drive in and that hour drive going home was a good time for me to talk to my mentees and do mentoring sessions. In battalion command, it was a little difficult. But what I appreciate for those that I did mentor was that they understood. They would send me an email and I say, hey, if I didn't respond to your email, either email me back or send me a text. I probably respond faster to a text than I would an email. And so I appreciate that. But mentorship is ongoing. You constantly have to do it. You got to feed yourself as well. So don't assume that, it's always about you giving back. You may need some to receive that mentorship. And so with me being able to reach out some of the senior leaders to gain their perspective was always good. And I appreciate them allow me to be able to use whatever means, whether that's text, phone call, instant message, or Facebook. So.
Yeah,
Got it.
I think kind of similar. I have to discipline myself with my mentees to try to check on at least, once a month. I'm sending out a mass text message or email. We just recently did a Zoom, which I know I'm overdue to schedule another Zoom to get them all on a Zoom net to talk about. But again, some of them I talk to every other day, and some of them it's just kind of a weekly or bi-weekly check. As far as me being a mentee, I'm probably pretty horrible at it. But it used to be that I would try to send out an email update, every 90 days because, with dealing, the more senior you get with your mentor, the more busy their schedule are. So I would try to keep them updated without, flooding their email or blowing up their phone that often, but also not being the person just to come to them when I got a problem. I want to keep them in the net when things are going good. So again, but I agree with Natasha. It's a 24/7 thing once you sign up to be a mentor to somebody. So you have to make yourself available to that person whenever they need you.
And can I say something? I've had a couple of junior leaders have asked me. They said, ma'am, I reach out to so they don't email me back, or they haven't responded back to me. And so that's the flip side. And what I will tell you is don't get discouraged. It's happened with me. Somebody may say they sent me an email, I didn't respond back. Again, like I said, I get so many emails. So it's not personal. And I try to tell people, if you know me or someone knows me, just let me know. Some people, mentoring is not their thing, in terms of that's just not something that they want to put into their prioritization at this time and space. But what I will tell people, don't get discouraged. Just move on. You may need to seek mentorship from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. These are all excellent points, y'all. We got some comments coming in, of course. We've got one here from Mr. Chris Payne. He said, Lieutenant Colonel House, sir, you are a great mentor. Thanks for all you do.
He's a
I
great
tell
mentor.
I tell you what, and I guess I could consider you a mentor as well. But you're more of an encourager, sir. You're kind of like that person that has told me, "Hey, Otis, I see great things happening for you with this thing. This is a great thing." And these are, I wasn't even looking for those words, but you have been that encourager to help me through some of the downturns that has happened, even in a positive thing like a podcast. So I want to give you a shout out personally to that as well. So
No, I appreciate it, because that's what we have to do. We have to be. It's all about being candid. When you're doing the mentor, you got to be candid. You can't sugarcoat things, but it's okay. Even if you didn't ask for anything, when I noticed you were first doing the podcast, I was like, that's a brilliant idea, and I think I sent you a message on, like I do with all my mentees. It's like, if I see something good that the junior leaders are doing, especially our lieutenants and captains, because let's be honest, they get beat up quite a bit, from a post they make on the forum might go left really quick, and you sitting there like, wow, all they did was ask a question, and it's turned into, it went from 0 to 100 real quick. But what we got to do as seniors, we got to realize we got a very talented group of junior officers coming up in the military. I'm very, proud of everything I see when they post the discussions, having discussions with them when I go out and talk. We've got a very talented group. So when old head like myself hang up my uniform and, my daughter and son want to enter the military, I'm pretty confident that the leaders coming up behind them are going to take care of them. So I guess I'll give a shout out to the junior leaders. I'm talking about the company grade officers. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Keep using your voice. And I will tell you, you see things differently than older officers do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? The old officer might disagree. The old officer might say, well, we never did it that way back in 1975. Well, it's 2020. Okay? So get over yourself. And sometimes we just got to listen and learn. We can learn from the next generation coming up. So shout out.
Except for the pen and paper.
Yeah.
I was thinking that in my head. Like, wait, hold on.
I'm not alleviating from the pen and paper, Otis. You got to have pen and paper.
And I won't either. I'll tell you what, I won't either. I'll tell you a story, then we can go to the next comment. But I had it happen where, I had a commander that broke out his phone and a commanding staff. And to my view, he was text messaging my commanding staff meeting. Well, I see everybody else with the green notebook. You see this one guy sitting there on his phone. I'm like, so the text couldn't wait till after the commanding staff. Like, sorry. Right. So to avoid all that, and then I think it was the CW5 that made a great point. Or I can't remember who made the point. You can go back and review those notes, and if your system take a dump or you drop it in water or something, you still got those notes.
Interesting. All right, so let's jump into the next topic. The topic is there favoritism? Are we changing the narrative regarding favoritism? Who would like to jump into that?
Okay, I will go on the record and say yes. Okay, yes, there is favoritism, and then favoritism to me takes a lot of different flavors, I guess. So there's favoritism on what branch you in. There's a favoritism of what tab you wear. There's favoritism. We had a lot of discussion on, color and gender, institutions you come from. There's absolutely favoritism, and it's probably, everything that you can possibly think of, probably favoritism on where you're from, down south or up north in the United States. And we just got to it's not enough to, and Natasha said it best, it's not enough to keep talking about it. There has to be some institutional policy changes to how we do business to make the system fair. And I think one of the best things that's going on right now is that diversity group that the SecDef put together. And I guess the jury's out to see in December what policy changes come out to, move toward making our institution better and making the systems fair.
Yeah, I would say for me there is I wholeheartedly agree with Bernard. There's favoritism. There's favoritism from the point that, oh, you're a Steelers fan. You know what? You might not. I'm playing, but no, seriously, if they are Steelers fans, it's favoritism with everything, and I think that it's just a part of human nature. It just is. Hey, I just found out 2 of those officers just came from West Point, or, that officer, that we were in walks together. I mean, I look at it with the sergeant majors now. I had no idea how we are in class such and such together, and they're like their own community. And so favoritism, I believe, is just going to be there. What we can do to change the narrative is ensure that we don't hold on to that bias of that favoritism. So we have to just be mindful and cautious of that as leaders, that it's okay to have someone that shares the same viewpoints as you, that does things the way you do, come from the same walk of life as you do, but you got to be willing to give opportunity to all.
Yeah. Hey, Otis, let me share an example for you. This is something subtle, and I was thinking about this after our last discussion. So leaving the Pentagon, going to the 10th Mountain Division, getting ready to take command. Never served in the 10th Mountain Division before. I like history, so I studied the history of that division. So I know what the 10th Mountain Division patch looks like. I know what it represents and all that stuff. The first correspondence I received from the 10th Mountain Division, it does have the patch, up in the upper right-hand corner, I guess, of the slide as I'm looking at it. On that slide, they modified the patch to add the Ranger tab across the top of it. Mm-hmm. So, as a non-tab officer coming from the Pentagon, first time going to the 10th Mountain Division, seeing this patch, already studied some on the history because I'm going to this organization, and that's what good officers are supposed to do. I know that the history of the patch does not have a Ranger tab on the top of it. So what does that tell me? Or what is my perception right then and there? As there are already favoritism to tab officers going into that division. So, I think subtle little things like that, we can take a look at across the institution and say, hey, we got to eliminate some of this stuff, to make the system fair. And, and to make sure that we're not giving the perception, even if that wasn't true. Now the perception is, the 10th Mountain Division, favors tabbed officers over non-tabbed officers.
And I want to put a plug in too. I got an opportunity the other evening to have a discussion with one of my Greek sisters, and she was talking to me from a civilian standpoint, how there's favoritism even in her office, based off of whom someone may be married to. And I mean, here in Korea, things are different. And that's how that person's getting the job. The information goes out, but we already know based off of the circle that, they play golf together, they go to each other's house, they break bread together. And so it's not just in the officer rank, it's in the civilian workforce. It's even in the workplaces with our soldiers. That's a lot of times how I found out things that were happening in the battalion is it would come up during a favoritism or a discussion, well, I want to file a complaint. Well, why wasn't this filed early on? Well, it wasn't until that favoritism was shown to X, Y, or Z. And so we just have to be very, very mindful as leaders, regardless of whatever portion that you serve in the DOD, whether that be a service member, a green suiter, or even a spouse, when we're talking favoritism.
Yeah. And then, my my last comment to this, sorry, as an African-American battalion commander, again, it's still the spotlight's on you, and you got to treat everybody fair. So make sure, again, you're not migrating, directly toward members of your branch, and you're not migrating directly toward people who look like you. Okay, everybody in that formation is under your command. So again, some of it is us also. We got to be mindful of what we're doing also.
Excellent.
One more thing. So it made me think about the DEOC survey when you said that. I made sure that I did those. I also made sure I read them. And there was actually a comment in there that she favors people that look just like her. And I mean, it hurt me a little bit because I'm like, I so don't favor any of you, no one, but because it was written, now I am aware. And that's why, I think it's great that those surveys are done. I think that's a question that you should ask commanders when you are doing your first initial assessment. You get a chance to, what is the free question you want to ask? That may be a question you want to ask just to see, where you stand or what others are thinking of you, if they perceive of you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and jump into, it looks like some of the comments, and then we'll go into the last question of the day. The comments that I see from Tamisha Morris, she said, very true, Bernard, encouragement is welcome and appreciated regardless of rank. We've got a long one here. It says, no doubt, Lieutenant Colonel House knows this. But I met him at a critical cross point in my career as a lieutenant. I benefited from his mentorship and watching him as a Centaur 6. Centaur, you were a Centaur, Colonel House?
Absolutely.
He helped me to see through this proverbial fog, and my performance improved exponentially. I can't thank him enough for his willingness to be present and selflessness. That's good. Mm-hmm. Good. We got one from Mr. Neil Stevenson, said, when it comes to conducting counseling with her junior officers, Lieutenant Colonel Clarke talks the talk and walks the walk.
Thanks, Neil. It's my former XO.
All right. We've got one from Miss Yolandria again. She said, many officers have mentors, but very few have advocates. A mentor may grant you access, but not opportunity. An advocate grants you access and advocates for opportunity, just for you and for the right reasons. Shout out to my advocate, Lieutenant Colonel Ebony Calhoun. She is a godsend. Diversity and inclusion comment. And then we've got one here saying, Tamisha Morris, agreed, Chief DC, and I learned the importance of peers and also advocating for each other. When we get a vote, make it count, build a team. Lieutenant Colonel Tamisha Morris, she signed. And we've got one here saying, favor everyone and let them determine which favorite they become, the most or the least. Just kidding. Okay, gotcha, man. Thank you. And then we will transition now to the final topic of our discussion. And we've had, an hour flown by. It didn't even feel like an hour. It feels like 10 minutes of talking. But the last thing here, it says, counseling is key. This is where the discussion needs to begin. How can we teach evaluation techniques? Who wants to start on that?
Yes, I'll chime in real quickly on that one. Counseling. However way you decide that you want to do counseling, I would say if you're in a position where you rate people, your counseling should be frequent, not just quarterly. Someone was sharing with me on last night, depending on how long you're going to counsel someone. So just say, for instance, you have that year time frame, within that first quarter, those personnel should be able to come up to a leader and say, hey, am I hitting the mark? If I'm not hitting the mark, how can I hit it so that I can be viewed for a potential top block? Same thing with the civilian write-ups, am I meeting the intent? Because I know a lot of times we have the civilians that work for us, especially if you don't work in an all civilian force, and you just assume, well, they're doing their job and it's okay. And performance appraisals go up and, but are they really doing what is outlined for them to do? And so those counselings have to be key because that's the time when you can have a discussion. Put it on paper. If you don't want to put it on paper, one of my techniques that I used was when I put the officers, for those that I rate, when I put the officers counseling on my calendar, I would go in and type in the notes. See, I use technology. I would type in the notes on the calendar, what we said. I would hide that counseling session, but that was my remembrance of, hey, I may have talked to you about why you weren't going out to the motor pool when you should have been out there with your soldiers. This is not the first time we've had this discussion. And so that's just a way. And I'll stop right there for the moment.
No, I agree. And, you're counseling them against the standard. So, as you go in, we all know the Army standard, but as you go in as a commander and you set your priorities, I guess, also. So make sure, when you go in and do the counseling, you're using, what your set priority is to make sure they're meeting the priorities, against the Army standards also. And I think, Natasha laid it out good as how you can do this, whether you're doing your formal counseling every 3 months and every other day you're doing PT with people and you're talking to them and see how things going, you give them some feedback, but it's a continuous thing. And I think as a battalion commander, I know that company commanders and battery troop level commanders are rated by a brigade commander, but you see them on a 24-day basis. So if you're not taking the opportunity to give those individuals some feedback and make sure they're shining in the eyes of the brigade commander, you're kind of missing the mark on that. I think the second half of this question was talking about evaluation techniques, and I can't remember which general said it. I think it was General Wilson again, and he always talks about competing against the standard, not against the individual. Yes. And I think that's the if you take that mindset, I think you're going to be successful. But what I'm seeing a lot, I can't speak for the we. I'm gonna speak for what I'm seeing a lot when I talk to people. At the end of the day, a lot of people are having to defend their evaluations. Right, wrong, or different. House got his opinion on it, but you need to be prepared to go in and I think we talked about this last time, and Natasha laid out a good format, is to remove the emotion, have you an outline that's grounded in fact, and defend your evaluation if it's not written, if it doesn't properly show what you have accomplished over that rating period. At the end of the day, senior raters and raters have the right not to change anything on it, but it's still going to garner a discussion, and either they're going to see it from your point of view as the things they didn't know occurred, or they're going to give you some feedback on your performance and your potential that can help you, grow as a leader in the future.
Excellent comment. We've got one quick comment on the page. It says, a question. It says, do you think that counseling should end on a positive note, or should it be pragmatic?
It really depends, and so I will say it depends only because depending on when you go into that room or that setting, if you're going in emotionally tied to what was written on a piece of paper or what was said because you're being counseled, I don't know if you nor that person are going to be at that point to say, okay, got it, and move on. What I will say is that as leaders, if you're at that point, control your emotion. You may have to step away from the conversation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on. But make sure you get it right. Follow up with an email or an office call to say, hey, I was in my feelings. I understand. Even though you may not agree, you have to understand the position that you're in. And so I've seen it from both lenses, me being on the giving end and on the receiving end. And I try, even if I'm counseling and giving a negative counseling, I still try to find a way to find something positive at the end of the conversation. And I learned that from probably 2 mentors that I have that told me, they would counsel me, scold me, but then they would always find a way to kind of, give me some type of positive impact. That's the same thing when we're doing Article 15. After you done scolded someone, blah, 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 and then you could say, oh, but by the way, you can bounce back from this if you want to. So it really depends.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So a technique that I have, so, I've been counseled using this technique, and I kind of counsel my officers using the same technique is, naturally you go over some of the successes, you go over things they need to improve on, or things they need to focus on. And you got to be real careful with words. And when I counsel an officer, I say, hey, you need to improve on this. And I told them this up front, improve in my language mean that you're failing at this and you really need to, focus on it. Focus on it mean, hey, you got some areas that, you can tighten up a little bit. Not necessarily failing, you just kind of on the borderline, tighten it up a little bit. And then the last statement that I would end my counseling with is, if I was rating you today, I would rate you as, and I would give you the numeration where you stand amongst your peers. And if I was your senior rater, whether you would be an HQ, MQ, or if I was recommending it to the brigade commander, what if I would recommend an HQ and MQ? And I agree wholeheartedly with Natasha said, so you try to end these things on a positive note, but I would offer to a junior officer going into the room, getting a counselor, especially if you're getting quarterly counseling on a regular basis. The thing to really focus on is what the person is telling you need to improve on.
Yes.
What they're telling you to focus on, because that's going to help you grow as an officer. You can pat you on the back all day, and at the end of the day, you'll come out and you'll have a big head complex and think you're doing everything correctly. But if they tell you what to focus on and make recommendations on things to read and help you improve on this, that, and other, that's what's going to make you grow better as a leader and officer.
Excellent. Excellent.
And reach out to your mentors. So it goes back to the mentorship. Ask them, get their feedback. What do you think? Am I looking at this the wrong way? How do you see it? And so for me, that was one of the things, and I shared on last week in regards to, getting that first evaluation in battalion command, and it was not what I expected it to be. But what I took from that is, okay, there's some things I need to work on. My approach, how I see a situation, and not just be tunnel vision on just one thing. If the commander, I'm being taught to look 2 levels down, then I still have to be able to look up and out. These are things that I need to think about. And so I took it and flipped it and made it a positive for myself. And saying, you know what, this next year, this is what I'm going to do. Because I got it. I didn't hit these marks this time. I didn't see it. Somebody else saw it. So this is what I'm going to do this time differently. And, so this year in battalion command, much better, more positive mentally. I was in a better place so that I could lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you got a good point there is I would tell any junior officer, don't sign your evaluation till you let a mentor or somebody senior look at it. I don't care if it's checkbox MQ. Okay. Case in point, I had an officer send me an evaluation where the senior rater wrote all these MQ, and he's like, hey, I think it's great. And then I was like, dude, you're already promotable. And nowhere in there, everything that was listed there from your previous ranking, you're already promotable, getting ready to go to the CGSC. You got, clearly the senior rater copied and pasted or didn't even, take time to get to know the officer. I say that to say you just got to be real careful. It's okay to take a pause, take that thing, send it out to somebody, let them critique it. Then professionally go back if there's some discussion to be had about your evaluation. And again, it's a discussion. It's not you're going to, confront. I heard this word before. You're not going to confront your senior rater or your rater. You're going to have a discussion about it, and you're going to share your point of view, and they're going to share your point of view. And then, like Natasha just said, some of you got to internalize and say, okay, that's on me. I see now what I didn't see then, and you sign it and move on.
Tracking. So let's go ahead and bring up some of the comments, and then we could go ahead and I guess close the shop. And one of the comments that I want to bring up here, and this will be pretty much our final comment here. Well, yeah, our final comment. She said, I believe that all should end on a positive note, regardless of whether they remain part of the Army or separate. The key is to give them hope, let them know that they can recover from the fall. Recovering from the fall is something that everyone should get an opportunity to do. None of us are perfect, and we've all had our downs. And once you're down, obviously the only place you can go is up. I know it sounds cliche to say that, but that's absolutely something that a lot of folks are living and dealing and struggling with and will eventually persevere. And speaking of
Yeah.
perseverance,
Otis, let me say this though.
go ahead, sir.
Let me say this. I'm not disagreeing with that comment because I agree. You got to end on positive, but you also got to be very, very candid in the counseling, okay? Because let's just be honest. Some people, the Army's not for them, and some people don't have the potential to go on to the next rank. If you tell a person up there that up front in their counseling, you laying out everything to them in counseling, they still not correcting themselves, it gets to a point where you have to have, and this is a difficult conversation because, you know, people cry. Again, I've been in this for a while, and when you have these conversations and people are invested, you know, it gets emotional. But you cannot arbitrarily just sit back and all the time pat a person on the back. You got to look them in the eyes and be honest and say, hey, you know, you got to start thinking about your transition because what I'm seeing right now, you don't have to be harsh. This is not a cursing, screaming, yelling type conversation, but it is a conversation you have to say, hey, you know, I can't necessarily rate you to put you in front of leading our soldiers, or, you know, you need to be a field grade, or, you know, put on that you need to be a CSL commander and stuff, because that's not where your potential is at right now, or your performance is at right now.
Yes, I was gonna say the exact same thing, Otis. You got to keep it real, and that for me, I think that was one of the hardest things that I had to do each time. You know, if we could give everybody a top block for those that deserve it, I would want to be able to do that. But we're limited in our numbers, and so when you start talking about evaluation techniques, we're limited in how many, because everybody is not at the top.
Right.
So you, as a leader, need to learn how to have those tough conversations because they're coming. You know, you only got the one warrant officer that does what they do. For me, I was fortunate enough that I had a bunch of warrant officers. So my profile was different compared to my peers who didn't have that profile. I had a bunch of lieutenants, so my profile is different. But you gotta have those conversations. And then it's okay to kind of be transparent a little bit when you're having the conversations. Hey, you know, you're not hitting the mark, but this is why. This is what I used to do back in the day. That's why I'm telling you, you need to improve on this. I'm trying to prevent you from getting to that stumbling block or hitting that roadblock, you know, early on. Some people take it and they're like, okay, I got it. And I've seen people walk out of my office not happy. I will go back and reevaluate and rethink. And then I begin to play with words on an evaluation. Not meaning I can change the block check, but I'll play with words just based off of conversation. Some things that I may not have seen that a person was doing during their performance time that their rater may not have caught. But those tough conversations, those are the hard ones to have when you got to tell somebody, hey, you're just not there.
Yep.
Tracking. So, you know, I really appreciate the time that you all have taken to come and talk with the folks that participated in the discussion, and of course, hanging out on this little old podcast, Lead TV. You know, hopefully we get a chance to do this a whole lot more. I got a Facebook message just now with someone needing some assistance, so we're going to have to eventually cut off this podcast now. But I'm looking forward to more discussions with you both, and thank you so much for participating.
Hey, Otis, let me say one more thing, then I'm gonna let you and Natasha go, okay? And this is Bernard House's challenge to every other, and I'm a one of it. So lieutenant colonels, my peers, and we got some full birds out there, okay? And we got some flag offs also. We need to, as you can see, I got a notepad here, but it's nothing on it. So I challenge everybody to come on, be transparent, and have these conversations like we had for the last 2 days. These last two sessions. This is what our juniors need. Okay, like you said, we're not perfect. We have all made mistakes. We all have our opinion on how things work. Come share it. Nobody's going to hold it against you. We would love to hear it. Okay, and you got the perfect platform to get it out there. So I appreciate you for having us on, and appreciate Natasha for, you know, allowing me to share the platform with you over these last two sessions.
Oh, absolutely. So I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you. I did. I was taking notes because, again, pen and paper person that I am. I will say that. So I went back and looked at the session, and hey, I am available I will make myself available. And most people that know me know that. I would just say, don't think that you got to wear different faces. Just be who you are. Be the authentic you. If you need to get the help that you need in terms of counseling, behavioral health counseling, do that. And just always remember, when you walk into a senior's room, have pen and paper.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, take it easy, and we will talk again. Okay.
Okay. Take care.
All right. And so we had another great discussion with Lieutenant Colonel Clarke and Lieutenant Colonel House. I really hope that you all got something from that discussion. Obviously, the topics are relevant to both civilian and military. Take it. Whatever it is that you can learn and appreciate from it, get that, and you just run with it. You can't necessarily eat a whole elephant at one time. Take it one bite at a time. If you've got a hustle, if you've got a job, if you've got a career, if you've got an idea going on and you want to develop it to be something bigger and better, take it one step at a time. Have no fear. Reach out to someone who's doing it successfully, and they will be glad to mentor you and help you out in your journey in whatever it is that you're doing. So, as I always say in parting, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of others.